Chile here with Sirius Talis Moon, Venus, our Saturn day. We are continuing with our Uranus stelliums, or with our stelliums across the zodiac, which is to some degrees the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant, but with the stellium is where we really feel a transit. And I was beginning to talk about Aquarius itself. Now, with Aquarius, Neptune sextiles, Uranus trines, Pluto conjuncts. The good and the bad things about these things. Pluto conjunction, of course, is difficult. And if you have a stellium in Aquarius, that means that you're going to go through what people in Capricorn went through between 2008 and 2023. Not the same events because it's not the same stellium. And this is going to touch every single aspect of your life. You're going to have to stand in your power in the face of global techno occult society at every single aspect of your life. If I think about what is the difference between Pluto Capricorn to Pluto Aquarius, Pluto Capricorn had to stand in the power in the face of the traditional hierarchy in every single aspect of their life while climbing up the hierarchy, because the planet was set to climb up the hierarchy. Pluto Aquarius has to stand in the face of the power of the decentralized power. What is the occultistic decentralized power? Even the astrological power. Some of you may be even world-renowned astrologers. And here is the drama. Pluto agrees with Uranus and Neptune. And here is the question. Is it Pluto agreeing? Oh, and what about, because with this type of agreement, when one of the outer planets, particularly Pluto, although also Neptune, is in agreement with the other two, it means that your personal planet has to stand in the face of a consensus that includes you, but or your loved ones or whatever it is signifying in your chart, but that consensus may include you, but is it when you stand in your power, you're not standing in your power in the face of let's just say it's like standing in your power in front of a unanimous decision in the UN where the structure may be decentralized but has now, alternatively, you are one of the people that that are informed by Pluto, and Pluto is being informed by upon the creation of those unanimous decisions. Mommy, stop, I'm recording. Conjunction by Pluto is beyond powerful. I think my biggest trip with my parent to Europe was when Pluto was around my midheaven. And Pluto around my Saturn, I almost didn't survive. I think that was when Um, um, but actually, Pluto, I have Pluto 0 degree and Saturn is in the middle decan. Pluto moves quickly to Scorpio. It was 1984 to 1996, it was already out. So that would have been 19. Yeah, probably the fall of the Soviet Union. But also the first kidnapping attempt. Um, Pluto going to my Mars was very likely the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin. And before that, or after that, the death of my grandfather. Pluto going through my Uranus, I'm trying to think about that, because that would probably be the mass shootings where I instinctively understood the topic about the mass shootings. And I was in high school, the psychology of the mass shootings. Either that or it was the Monica Lewinsky scandal. That could have been around Ketu. Um, Pluto around my Jupiter would be, I think, during and after the Me Too, which would be opposing my moon. So if I try to think about Pluto conjunction from my personal experience, or Pluto conjunction a personal planet, um, I'm not gonna try to even think about Saturn. um, well, I'm gonna say this. When there was an attempt to kidnap me by a doctor, when I was younger than 9, what happened was I was this ADHD child. I needed to the right to roam, and my grandmother was hospitalized and so on. Um, as I roam around, and I was a don't touch me child, and then a doctor holds me, but something in his heart was not so, and me the child, or whatever was affecting me since infant, was drawn to that. And fortunately, a family member came and interrupted that doctor, and he didn't manage to kidnap me. I felt tremendous shame for being drawn to that. Was the first, um, but I was a don't touch me child, and um, and this is type of touch that I'm not drawn to anymore. Um, and that may have created in me dissociation and inclination to agree to Trump, but entire world population go boom immediately without suffering, and then even if I would try to go to therapy, then people wouldn't understand, or they would understand and would try to divert the attention and never to actually treat the problem, because then they would be targeted by the Epstein Barr. So that was Pluto probably going over my Saturn. Assassination of Rabin. Um, it definitely exposed me to the unconscious perception I had regarding the carpal as a child. but I thought, oh, if the head is gone, but how would the body continue to function? But this is fascist philosophy. I'm not fascist today, but as child, the carpal imagery, which is essentially fascist imagery of the country, I don't know how I got it. It's not that I was indoctrinated or consciously indoctrinated in that, but that was the association that I had. Um, um, we did not study that type of imagery at school. For those who wonder about this, in my generation, I don't know how schools are now. I'm a millennial, so born around the mid '80s, and secular, which is very important. Um, so, and when I say secular, I don't mean atheistic, but definitely I don't mean theistic either. Um, Pluto was around mid-heaven. I felt a very big calling to travel, and there was dread. There was where Pluto can be associated with dread. So all of these placements definitely expose something core, taboo, and that I wasn't aware of before. Whether it was the carpal association that today I don't have with the figure of the state and the leader as the head, as a 12 years old child back then, whether it was regarding something that structure um, is beyond terrifying. I remember one of the people that I tried to go to therapy said, um, well, usually children would never respond like that. For you, probably it was just a hug. And he said, unless there is something before that. And then his face turned. Um, and I'm like, knowing that my family was not a molesting family, I was like, what on earth? By the way, that person was to do with Scientology, and I don't know if he particularly was, but EMDR is to do with Scientology, and the higher ranks are part of those that are doing that to infants. So I don't know if he knew that, by the way. Okay, just to make it very, very clear. But the therapist that did vehemently harm and was probably tortured himself tremendously in order to bring him to a point where he harms patients, knew that other person, which didn't make me feel too safe, and there was a feeling of nowhere to go to, like back then. Indeed, the infantile phases, feeling of helplessness and nowhere to go to, and that unfortunately was something that was um, kind of like a guest experience in my life that was quite an issue. Even today, for example, I cannot just rent an apartment and so on and so forth. Um, yep. um, so all of those were exposing deep taboo things, but when I said deep taboo things, were things that I was even dissociated from. So if I think about Pluto going to somebody's stellium, um, they won't be able to, how should I say that? They won't be able to not see the things that were hidden even from them. um, while they have to stand in their power in the face of those things. Um, the sextile from Neptune can assist. They may actually be even saved by someone. Um, and the trine from Uranus may have certain sudden eurekas regarding the situation. So if they have to face, let's say, if for me the first time that I ran into misplaced arousal or trauma bond was decades, then with this aspect, they may not have to wait decades um, to facilitate understanding of the things that come up with the conjunction. Only now I computate that the attempt to kidnap me at hospital was around um, the fall of the Soviet Union. Um, for example, what is the difference between me and Ghislaine Maxwell? It's probably that I had a Neptune sextile where she didn't. Now, here's the thing. Scorpio concerns itself with one's nature, but an infant that is raped is not. Pisces stellium, last but not least. Um, Pisces stellium. First of all, Pluto is 12th house from the stellium, which means most of the aspects in your lives experience some sort of hidden power that seems to be pulling threads that you don't quite know, that are on a blind spot. Now, because Pluto can be associated with trauma, there can be a dissociation. Neptune in second house from your stellium can tell that the coping skills to deal with that stellium could have to do with dissociation. Um, what people need to be very cautious is when they think that somebody can respond but they can't. And with Pisces, Uranus is about to square that stellium. Um, if I think about it, Uranus would have been squaring my midheaven when I would be around 2, 3, and I would be a divorce of my parents, and that would be scoring my ascendant. And I was almost unalived. um, um, now, Uranus squaring with Pisces placements is the friction of, with Gemini, we solve things by being playful like child. By the way, Chiron in Gemini is a wound around that ability to be playful. With Pisces, um, there can be either belief in benevolence that borders dissociation, um, and lack of awareness of the architecture of power that tries to pull the threads on that stellium. Um, for example, with Pisces ascendant, this architecture of power may have been trying to, um, and it can be even that there's certain architecture of power that was not taken into account, that it is in the 12th house of a Pisces, which means that Pisces is their blind spot and they are in an infantile position regarding that. This is also why Pisces is in conjuncting Libra. For many Piscean, the jurisdiction, procedure, or due process is not even accessible because of that. This is why a lot of people blame Pisces. Why is Pisces so? Because Libra is their 8th house. And 8th house is in conjunct the ascendant. This is also why the inherent structure of the 8th house from the ascendant house, whole sign speaking, is not supportive of successful therapeutic procedure and even challenging sovereignty when it comes to, or even the carpal when it comes to occult practice, inheritance, and so on and so forth. It's just that's the structure of the houses. It is. So Pisces stelliums might develop coping mechanisms like the power of belief and so on and so forth. And again, they have their merits, but they don't cover the Aquarius and they don't cover the Libra and so on. Now, this square from Uranus might mean that the playfulness in Gemini um, is at odds with some places where Pisces is in a helpless position. And Gemini might not understand that helplessness of Pisces um, in the face of what is happening. So Uranus is going from the sextile to the square. Um, because it's Pisces, even one placement that challenges, think about Pisces as the North Sea. Even one thing different, um, when it's an outer planet, can already throw off the North Sea. And when you try to throw off, when something throws off the North Sea, it's like um, this is where now Pisces is done with Neptune in its house. So stellium Pisces, the Neptune transit, however we characterize it, um, has moved a sign, but the challenges are still there. And where Neptune is let's say Pisces has is done with Neptune and now is trying to second house from the stellium would be to acquire skill, or even for some people might even have a course or something like that. Neptune surrenders that. So, for example, if going through Neptune Pisces, I don't know, because Neptune can create. Now, the point of Neptune is to miraculously curate any disability regarding the second house. But it's not going to look like some suddenly be. For example, if somebody's, let's say, went through something and they've learned to cope with this somewhat themselves, they come out to the world and they say, "Oh, I'm going to have a course that may help people," and so on and so forth. Amazing. And they want to take it to the next level. Neptune arrives, and there can be an issue with the trade system. There can be an issue where suddenly they have to surrender where it meets them in regards of their ability to work. I remember I had a friend during the Me Too that successfully litigated the university, and she had to litigate also the offender directly. And in terms of what she wanted, which was the transparency around with most of the things that happened there, she won. She was never in it for the money. And the verdict was such that it was impossible to not infer the truth from it. Then she tried to work and didn't understand why she's not able to come up with the reports, or she's not able to do things on time. And I'm like, there's a difference between standing in your power or taking action, which was not accessible. For example, for the Pisces, that type of action might not be accessible because they might be aware of the hidden occultistic things. But then, as she was trying to work, she didn't understand why she can't work. I'm like, do you know what is CPTSD? Yeah, that was in the report. There was, they call it a disorder to integrate or to assimilate. And I said, but this is not disorder to integrate or to assimilate. This is PTSD. What does it mean? That's the thing that you experience when you try to work. That can be an excellent predicament for Neptune going through somebody's second house. Chiron, by the way, ingressed around 2018, 2019 to Aries, and I too was trying to have a business. What do you do for a living? Negating Epstein-Barr chronically for several decades. How come you are alive? Trying to share that information. No, I was asking how come you're alive, not what more things you do to trigger the targeting. You want to tell you consciously doing everything that can get. No, in retrospective, I understand. The wound is that don't allow sometimes people to. Never mind, never mind. What were you seeking to make a contribution? The people like this probably deserve lifelong compensation for several incarnations. Oh my God. Neptune going through second house from a Pisces stellium can be something like that. Somebody's trying to make a contribution and doesn't understand why they can't work. And yeah, so what can assist? Again, Taurus placements, Cancer placements, not Libra placements, Scorpio placements, and Capricorn placements. For example, Scorpio placements can say the nature of the offense you are dealing with challenges ability to work. Um, with Capricorn, it can be people that have already dealt with the inability to work part are kind of like the wise teachers that say, yes, I remember when I tried to do that. And had to escape an apartment to my origin house that fortunately the family unit partially was fortunately somehow still there, and fortunately somehow somewhat functioning. This is probably why I'm not on Epstein list. Because when person is tortured to loss of sense of self, there isn't anymore a self. And I was tortured to loss of sense of self. So when people encountered any duplicate of my energy or consciousness, then I was not conscious of that. If it happened when I was tortured, then first of all, I believe you, and um, and that unfortunately was the nature of these offenses, what they called spiritual warfare.